hello, Courier Nation. Welcome to the Deliver on Your Business podcast, where you are the boss. Each week, we talk about how to make the most of your business as an independent contractor, as a courier delivering for gig economy apps like Grubhub, DoorDash, Postmates, Uber Eats, and so many others. Well, hello, Courier Nation. Welcome back for one more week of the Deliver on Your Business podcast. It is awesome having you back, and it's pretty awesome being back too. I'm 2 days late. I don't think I've ever been 2 days late on the podcast, but I just had the opportunity here to get this interview in, and it was something that I didn't want to make it wait until next week, so it was just worth getting it done and getting it done right and everything like that, because I think this is something that could be really special for a lot of delivery contractors, especially for those of you who are just really, really, really serious about actually running your business, about treating this like a business. Because, you know, there are things about when we do our deliveries as contractors for Grubhub and DoorDash and all these others that, you know, you got to stretch sometimes to make it feel like you're running a business, because there are just aspects of the way they do things that still make it feel like an employment type of thing. And I think there's something just really special right now, because I'm seeing something coming along that, boy, if these guys can get off the ground, my friends, this feels like an actual business opportunity, you know. We've got an interview with Bob Mcnulty, who has started up a new delivery company called TripDelivers. Now, they are really, really, really on the ground floor. I mean, we're talking, we might be talking basement. We might be talking sub-basement. It's only been a couple weeks that they started out in the Nashville market, and that's their first market that they're actually up and running with delivery. They've been getting things going, but they've got a very different model. And I'm excited to have Bob Mcnulty on here to talk about that model, to explain about what they're doing different. Because I got to say, I mean, there's a part of me that wants to maybe see if I can book a ticket down to Nashville and go check them out. And I might do that. And we just found out that my daughter is down with the Rona, and she seems to be doing okay and everything like that. It doesn't seem to be hitting her too hard, but now there's that quarantine thing. So it might be a couple weeks before I can do something like that. But I'm serious, guys. This is something that, you know, I'm excited, because there are so many ways that you can take ownership of what they're doing here. And so you know what? I'm just going to let the interview go here and let you listen, because you can hear a little bit about what this is all about, and I think some of the opportunities here. Well, Courier Nation, I'm excited to have our guest on today. I have Bob Mcnulty from TripDelivers. And TripDelivers is a new entrant coming into the delivery scene, and they're really kind of upending things with a totally different model, a totally different approach, both for the restaurants and for the drivers. Everything that I'm seeing on it, it looks like it is really more of a true independent contractor model. Almost not even a contractor. But it's they're going to be working with us as drivers in a way that is much more being like an actual business owner than kind of that pseudo half employee, half contractor thing that you see with a lot of these others on here. So, Bob, I want to thank you for coming on and joining us today, and for telling us a little bit about TripDelivers.
Well, I appreciate you inviting me, Ron.
Yeah.
It's a talk with you.
Yeah,
since you have a lot of industry and you really know the business.
Well, I at least like to act like it. I'm not sure if I know as much or if I just talk like it, you know. Bob, tell us a little bit about what you're doing with TripDelivers. You just got launched, I think, in Nashville, and looking at some other markets as well. But just tell us about, just give us an overview, I guess, of what you're doing and how you got started and why you decided to dive into this market.
Yeah, it's a really crazy story about how I got in this space. It wasn't by design, I can tell you that. I was visiting my son in LA, and I spent the night with him, and he and I had an appointment up in Beverly Hills that morning, but he had to drop his car off in Venice to get fixed. And and I like to be on time. I don't like to be late, to meetings and things. And we had to drive through traffic and, to Beverly Hills from Venice. It could take anywhere from 30, 40 minutes to an hour. So I said to him the night before, I said, don't forget, just get a town car and have them take us up there so we don't have to worry about getting up there on time. He said, oh yeah, no worry. So we're at the dealership and he's dropping his car off. And I figured, they'd have to pick us up, like, call it 8 o'clock in the morning or something. And so I said to my son, I said, was that car going to be here? I mean, because usually a car is really there before you're almost there, right? And he goes, oh yeah, don't worry about a thing. I got this. And then about 5 minutes later, I said, well, do you think the car is going to show up? And he goes, yeah, Dad, let me show you. So he breaks out his phone and he says, you see that little car moving? I go, yeah. I thought it was a game when I first saw it. And I go, yeah, I see the car. He says, that car is going to pull up in about 5 seconds. And I said, your kid, because it was on the spot where it was supposed to, and we were standing on the curb. And sure enough, this car pulls up. And then we get in, and then you get out, and you don't have to pay. You don't have to get money out of your pocket, and you're frumping around and trying to get out to a meeting and stuff. So that was my first introduction, and I was blown away because at the end of the meeting, before the meeting was over, he also put in to get a car. So we got done with the meeting, walked downstairs, walked out of the building, there was a car pulling up. So now I had 2 great experiences with Uber. Mm-hmm. But I had no idea I was ever going to go in this space. And then over time, I started using Uber and Lyft. And over time, it's the same. You get in a car. How are you? What's going on? How long you been driving? How is it? What's the big boogeyman, stuff. And it was the same theme. I mean, I took 30, 40 rides and it was the same thing. We're not respected. We don't make any money. We work our buns off, all the things that you hear. And then I just started thinking about it. And then, I started doing some research about the different companies like Lyft and Uber and then saw some of the stuff offshore in, Asia and Europe. And I'm thinking, geez, there's got to be a better way to do this, because if these guys really aren't making money and they're not respected, you got a real workforce problem. And that translates to consumers. And they're not gonna like it because they got a disgruntled guy driving and all he's doing is railing on the company. So that's how I kind of got into the space. But it took me over 2 years before I made a decision to go in it, because I do research, and it was never research to think about going into business, just research to kind of understand the gig economy, because I wasn't really familiar with it in the way that they were talking about it. And then just one day I said, God, this has got to be a better way to do this. And that's when I came up with the model we're using today. Okay. And then, we were going to launch back in January, just before COVID's, and immediately you could see, all the numbers started going south, on rideshare. Right. And I said, no, we got to pivot over to grocery, because I do know about the grocery space, not very much on the restaurant side, but the grocery space I know pretty well. So I said, let's make that pivot over. So we reshuffled our deck with the software and put that plan into work. And now we're in the delivery business. And I think we're going to really like it. One is it's probably the most profitable side of the business in rideshare, if you do it right, in our opinion. Okay. It's got a lower cost of operating because you're not paying the exorbitant insurance costs and all those kinds of things that you have to pay on the rideshare side. It's kind of interesting, how you can, get into a space, not knowing anything about it. And then because you spent so much time researching and talking to people, and how you start to feel about the business and the industry itself. And I really like it. I think it's exciting. I think it's got just huge upside from the standpoint, just not groceries or restaurant, but as I was saying a little bit ago, on the general merchandise side, there was a deal with Instacart just announced yesterday. They're doing with Best Buy. So they're going to do pick, pack, and ship orders, or they'll be in the stores, doing that kind of stuff. So the innovation that's coming out of this is kind of interesting. Everybody's kind of got their own little, they're going down their own track, Sure. So, but yeah, and we could be in the Instacart business. We have it built into our system. We just elected not to do it right now. Okay. We're just going to play what happens,
start off with, so it sounds like you're starting off with restaurant delivery and then possibly eventually move into the retail delivery.
Yeah. Well,
if it looks like there's a good opening for that later on.
Yeah. We're going to do restaurant for now. Probably in the next 120 days, we'll start rolling into groceries.
Okay.
And then ultimately into the retail system itself. One of the things that's interesting, if you look at the numbers, the grocery business and the restaurant business is almost $2 trillion a year in the United States. Wow. So it's right about 10% of the GDP of the United States. The other thing that most people don't know, that the retail sector out of like Best Buy and Home Depot and all these, Walmarts, that's another $3.5 trillion worth of business out there. And if that goes the way where deliveries become more prevalent to use, because I know, like, here's one of the things that my wife is an avid Amazon user. We probably get hey, I'm not kidding. So I was going to go up to Home Depot to get some rose food, because we have roses around here, and it's now that it's cooling down, the roses are all blooming and coming back. When it's hot, they kind of wither up. So I told her, I said, I'm going to run down to Home Depot and get some rose food. And she said, no, don't do that. Just let me go order it. She said, they'll be here tomorrow, because we have Prime. I said, okay. So she ordered it, and it's convenient. But yeah, so it's the convenience side is extraordinarily great. So what you have to balance out is the convenience side and the pricing side, so it doesn't get overly priced, so people don't use it as a convenience. And that's why Amazon does so well, because even though their price is whatever, $200, I don't even know what it is for Prime now, but they've been able to balance that out because they've got a great service, 2-day or whatever it is, or next day.
So all those something this morning that's coming in today.
Yeah, see, that's what's crazy, and it's the same day.
Yep.
So what's going to happen though, and I think with Instacart doing a deal with, and I think it'll work out. I don't know what the numbers look like, but now you're back to convenience big time, like at Best Buy, because I could buy something today and they'll probably deliver it in the next hour, or 2 hours, whatever it might be. So they pick it, they pack it, somebody delivers it, and you've got it the same day. So it's going to compete with Amazon at some point. And the point of contention is, how close, and this is where Amazon has been brilliant, is how close they are to their customer. Like you said, I ordered something this morning, I got it this afternoon. Mm-hmm. And their strategic thinking and how they run their, delivery service, which is really logistics. These guys are as good as anybody on the planet. But it all kind of gets back around to the same stuff, Yeah. How great a marketer are you? Do you have great cost controls over your business? Do you have a business model that works? All those kinds of things.
Sure. Well, and since you mentioned business model, I mean, you've got a really interesting one. You're not kind of another Me Too delivery company coming out there. Everybody out there is doing, we're going to charge the restaurant 30%, and we're going to charge the customer 20%, and we're going to give the drivers $3. And you're doing a totally different approach. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you're structuring everything?
Yeah. So basically on the restaurant side, which is kind of interesting, we use a referral business. So if you go out and sign up a restaurant, then you participate in referral income from that, or residual income, as every delivery through a Trip driver picks up, you earn 40 cents yourself. So if somebody is really enterprise and they said, hey, I want to make, some extra money, all I got to do is go sign up 20 or 30 restaurants. And if they're getting 10 or 15 orders a day through Trip and delivering, I make 40 cents on all those. Well, so it's a great way for some.
That's crazy, because I mean, I just think about this, that I walk into a restaurant and there's 10 orders waiting. That's $4 for somebody.
Exactly. and somebody is the guy that signed up that restaurant because you went to the effort, signed them up. So you get all of that income on the 40 cent side. What people in our business don't really understand yet is also most of these restaurants have 2,000, 3,000 followers. Doesn't mean they're all in the store at the same time. Some as many as 8,000 or 9,000. We're going to teach the restaurateur to send out the app to their customers, and then they'll make money every time their customer comes in too. So it's kind of like a win-win for people. But we just took a very complex business, meaning rideshare in general, or a restaurant business, and tried to look at it from a simplistic view. And the interesting thing is, we actually have three customers. We have the driver who's a customer, we have the restaurant who's a customer, and then we have the customer of the restaurant who's the end user as a customer. So we have to understand all three components to market to them smartly. And that's why we use a referral-based business. And that'll start getting traction as we start to build the business out.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to do it. I've got my son-in-law had right before he married my stepdaughter there that had been managing a restaurant out of town, and he talked about the problem that he faced was that he was maybe breaking even on deliveries, and it kind of makes it hard to really push deliveries. How is that different than for you guys? I mean, because if he's paying 20-25% out to Uber Eats or Grubhub or anything like that,
a flat fee, $2 or $3. If you become a member with us, like a Prime member, if you think in that way, right, you're going to pay $2 if you're a restaurant to have us pick it up and deliver it. If you're a non-member, it's $3 for us to pick up and deliver it. So it's pretty easy. Again, we know what revenue is coming in every time a car picks up an order. We know that 40 cents goes here and 10 cents goes there, and the rest goes to the company. And so we just have to make sure we got enough going on at all these restaurants that we can make money. But even if you take it more in a bigger picture, and let's say we had 100,000 cars out, on the road in a day that's working, and because when in the U.S. it wouldn't be unlikely that you could have 100,000 cars on the road if you want to go us. So if you said, what's the average? Let's say there was 8 or 10 pickups. So let's say it's 10. That's $20 a day per car, and 100,000 cars.
Yeah.
It's a serious amount of money. So we capture top line. So the other thing we don't do is like all the other ride companies or delivery companies, by marking it up 20, 30% or 40. And then they take control of that money. The order goes through them. They run it on their card processing. They take 100% control of that money. So their top line, they're booking all of that revenue income. Okay. So we only book the $2. So that's our business model is a lot simpler, but that $2 is almost all margin for us. Right. So it's a whole different way of accounting for what's transacting in your business. The revenues may be lower by significant numbers on a gross basis, but the earnings will be there and drive the business.
So what you've got then is you've got the restaurant just paying a $3 fee. They get the total amount of whatever is charged to the customer outside of that $3 fee. There's no big commission on top of it or anything like that.
Yeah. So what happens is we issue the restaurant their own merchant account, and then they get an order through. The order actually goes through our system, but not the money. The money goes through into their pocketbook. And it's seamless because they'll get their money the same day. They don't have to wait for 4 or 5 days to get it from, a delivery company that controls the whole transaction. Because just think of it this way, it's a freeway, the money's going down the freeway, and there's an exit that says $2 and there's another exit that says $3. The system knows if you're a $2 or $3 person, and it just sends us our money as it's going down the freeway, and the rest goes into the restaurateur's bank account.
Okay. Now, how does that work for the driver then? Since most of my audience obviously is
so
couriers.
the driver gets, so there's still a delivery fee for the consumer.
Okay.
And that delivery fee is time, distance, cancellation and wait time, and then the tip. So we have to be very smart about how we price that, because you don't want to price it so cheap that it hurts the driver, but you don't want to price it so high that it hurts the consumer. So you have to look at that. But we think on average, a driver will pick up probably $7-8 for delivery, not counting the tip. So if you think in terms of $10, $11, $12, now the good news is some of our research shows that, and maybe it's not that way, but usually if you get an order that's $35 to $50, the person that's ordered is actually fairly generous on the tipping side, so they'll get a 15 or 20% tip usually.
One thing I noticed, and something that you mentioned about the way that works, is, I mean, that sounds like what the customer is paying, what the driver gets paid is based directly on what the customer is paying. Then did I get that correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yes, he gets 100% of the fare.
See, and that's very different than what we get with Grubhub or DoorDash or Uber Eats, where what we're paid has nothing to do at all with what the other company's paid, which is interesting. I mean,
so what we found is, because of the pricing models that everybody else uses, they kind of play hide the football, so the driver doesn't know what the end result is of the total fare, so there's a lot of miscommunications. And then you see what you were just talking about, where you see a 50-cent fee for this and an extra $2 for that. And, it's kind of bangs you all over the place, and there's no transparency. Our receipts are transparent. So the driver, rider, or the person that bought the food and the restaurant all see the same receipt. There's no hidden nothing. You see it all.
Yeah, that transparency.
And that was found in our research that really upset drivers, that they just couldn't see the number.
Absolutely correct. That transparency would make you everybody's best friend right away. It really would.
No, yeah.
There's an interesting thing that I, noticed, like when it comes to our taxes as drivers, usually we get a 1099 from everybody. Uber Eats is the one difference where they use a 1099K, which they try and make it look like they use that 1099K because they're acting like the processor, that they're just kind of facilitating this transaction between the customer and the driver, and they're kind of more of a middleman. But the problem is the delivery fees never line up with what we are paid. So it's all, it's showmanship, and it's all designed to make it look like it's a distant transaction for misclassification purposes or something like that. But it's not real. But it sounds like what you're doing is actually real. What they are paying is actually what we're getting.
Yeah, we do everything in real time numbers. It's not, it's if let's say the fare is $10, we show every line item on the fare. Since we don't deal with the food cost, we don't have any food cost. We don't show that, but we show that it will show it's either a $2 or $3 because it's on the same line item. So, the restaurateur can see it, and the consumer can see it, and the driver can see it. That way they don't have to think about, geez, did I just get screwed for $5? Because that was one of the things I heard almost in every conversation. We don't know what we really make. They say it's this, but I found it's this. And that leads to, your driver, who's the backbone of your business, to be upset, disgruntled, whatever you want to call it, lack of faith in who's paying them. And that needs to be addressed. That was the first thing that we saw. You got to have transparency. You can't keep people in the dark and think they're going to be happy campers. And, they may have a $50 delivery, or $60 delivery. And they don't even know what it is.
Yeah. And I think, and it's just, I hear it from really all sides, drivers, the customers, the restaurants, and, and the only one that really knows what's going on with any of that is the delivery company.
Exactly.
So
here's the thing. The delivery companies, like, I got into a whole discussion about marking up menus and how we were going to handle menus opposed to other people. And I asked a number of our own people, I said, why do you think they handle the menus like they handle them? And I was shocked. Even our people couldn't, they just want to mark up the menus. And I said, no, it's a profit center for them. They don't only want to mark it up. They want to control it. And if they have that kind of control, now they control the restaurant. They can tell the restaurant, because they're fearful of losing business, particularly in COVID time, because every dollar counts that goes to the restaurant right now. And they want to control their business. And then essentially they're giving up their own freedom to run their business. They're being dictated to by these small, or not small, very large companies and these small businesses, mom and pops, and they don't have a lot of choices. That's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they're saying over 200,000 restaurants will close this full year, 2021, or will never reopen.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like it could get worse. We just, Colorado just kind of amped things up again, and they're going to shut down restaurants again for in-seat dining. And
that's some of these,
it is. I think, some of these places that struggle to open up, and now they have to close down again or something like that. And I hate it. I just, especially the mom and pop places, the guys
the chains can handle it. I mean, they've got deep pockets, most of them, so they don't have to really worry about, it's going to look bad on their, quarterly, reporting. Sure it is. They're going to lose millions of dollars, but they can weather the storm. The small mom and pop that has, 10 or 12 tables and, and they're in there in the morning and working, and they're working all day and all night. I mean, they put in 15, 16, 18-hour days in those restaurants. And it's going to be devastating for them.
One thing I wanted to back up to just a little bit, because you talked about the, you gave like the freeway analogy where, so the money, the money's going to the restaurant right away and everything like that. And that sounds like that means it's also going to the driver right away.
Exactly. We give the driver their own merchant account also. So the money goes straight to the driver. So we don't have any access to their account. We built some technology with a couple of different processors. We actually architected. We did, and we actually filed a provisional patent on it. So when a driver signs up with us now, he goes through a background check. He can sign up with us literally in 4 or 5 minutes. I mean, I sign myself up because I don't like to tell people you can do it this way. And I'm not a computer guy. I mean, my phone is my computer. So when I signed up on the company, I just signed up with my phone. I just made sure I had the documents I needed. I took pictures of them and all that stuff. And then we use this really kind of neat software for background check. And it'll actually give us a background check probably in 3 or 4 minutes now. And it uses AI and facial recognition and things like that. So it looks at your driver's license, and then it says, okay, that's a real face. It's not a clown face or some other face. And then it recognizes it. So we use some pretty good stuff there. And then it's right after that, then you sign up and get your merchant account. It gets issued almost immediately. And then you're in business.
Wow. So then the customer buys, the customer orders the food. They pay for it.
Yeah.
The delivery fee basically goes directly from the customer to the driver rather than just you guys shelling out whatever you want to give on that.
Right. It goes directly from the customer to the driver.
And then the food fee goes directly to the restaurant. And then your $2 or $3 delivery fee then just goes to you.
Right.
That is so different.
Yeah, and it's so easy. It take a lot of manpower to manage it and do split commissions and figure out what. And I'm sure. I mean, I've never seen what other guys have for systems, but I'm sure they're pretty sophisticated stuff. But still, anytime you're trying to manage a bunch of money, it's laden with cost.
Oh yeah, no, that's an interesting way to do things. And that there's something about that then too, that I think that, we just had that whole Prop 22 thing happen out in California. This whole challenge between whether you're an employee or an independent contractor. And we're kind of in this gray area with most of these companies where there's a lot of stuff that kind of acts like an employee, but we're classified as an independent contractor, like we're really running a business.
Right.
Prop 22, part of that was trying to say we can still continue to do that model. But when I look at how you guys have everything structured, it really seems much more independent for the driver because you're not, you're actually getting paid directly by the customer then. And is that, where do you think, and I guess where I'm going with this is I got this thing about, I know with what looks like we're going to have a new administration that is much more labor friendly. And especially when it comes to the federal side of things, they're going to be taking, I think, a lot closer look at the gig economy. And but I think that this kind of sets you up to be really more of a true independent contractor or business to business relationship than what the typical model is that's out there.
Yeah, we have no worries in our mind because we are really a platform provider. We don't touch the money. There's so many things we don't do that everybody else does.
Right.
And that was by design day one. We saw this coming, even though it was 2 years ago when we started, but the plan was always to put the driver as really the owner operator, right? So he owns and operates his own business. We give him the tools or her the tools to do that. We give them a great platform. We teach them how to do this. We teach them how to do that. But at the end of the day, they control all their money. None of it, not a penny, comes to us.
Yeah.
And we thought that was the best way to handle it, because I think you're right. I think that there are going to be pressure put on the gig economy because they want to unionize or they want to tax or whatever it may be. And which is really interesting, the drivers themselves don't want to be employees, the vast majority, So you got to figure out, how do I balance that as a company like us? How do we balance the things that we could do later down the road as we get bigger and stronger financially that helps drivers even beyond what they're doing? And we've looked at a lot of different programs, but I think that truly the driver wants to be an independent person. He wants to drive on his own schedule, work when he wants, doesn't want his money messed with,
Right. No, you're absolutely
and they want
right.
the money when they want their money. They don't want to work now and see it tomorrow or the next day. They want to see it now.
Yeah.
And that's what we provide.
That's really interesting. I mean, so, and because of the way you've got this set up, you allow us to have more skin in the game, because we not only get our delivery fees, but if we go out and we recruit, if we sign up a restaurant, we can earn money based on that. If we get another driver, we can earn money based on that.
Yeah, you have a residual income off the drivers, so it starts at 50 or starts at 40%. If you're just a side hustle driver, it goes 50 and 5. And with this new program we're going to introduce tomorrow night, it could go to 3 levels. So it could start really churning out some dollars for the drivers themselves. I mean, if you only wanted to get 2 or 3 of your friends signed up that are drivers, you'll never pay another $1 in a monthly subscription fee with us. It'll be free.
Now, that is one thing that is a little bit different, is you do have that subscription fee for drivers.
Right.
I look at it as almost kind of like doing a franchise or something in some ways. And
yeah, it's a SaaS model. But the interesting thing is, if you said the delivery driver is going to make $10, let's say, and it's $39.99 for 75 rides. So 75 rides should generate $750, and you paid $40 for it. So that's a pretty good return.
Yep.
You're not even talking. It's like, what is that? So it's like 5%, 4% or something like that. And then on the unlimited at $99, it's unlimited rides. So if you want to do 100 rides, 200 rides, 300 deliveries, whatever you might want to do, you can do. And and I've seen guys that are really made some serious money that drive. When I say serious money, where they had over $1,000, $1,200, $1,500 taken out for their commission, to pay Uber. And with us, it's $100.
Yeah.
So you just put whatever number it is, $700, $800, $1,000 back in your pocket, and that's significant. So again, everything on us is based on volume, operating efficiencies, logistics, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Now, you guys right now just got started in Nashville. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. And how has that gone so far? Have you had enough time to really see any of the results as far as like the business, keeping the drivers busy, different things like that?
No, we're just getting amped up. We spent the first 3-4 weeks signing up restaurants, and then as they're restaurants are coming online and getting some orders. We're monitoring those to make sure, hey, we get there on time, we pick it up. It's, all the things that we're looking for, metrics to make sure we're not going to have any issues. Then the next step is getting scaled up to make sure we don't have any issues. Now, right now, our platform is running just fine. We don't see any issues. We should be able to scale as quickly as we want in multiple markets at a time. So it's a matter of getting the referral partners engaged. That's why we're doing this call tomorrow night, starting to alert people. Here's some of the things that are coming online. These are the things that you should be looking forward to, and start really positioning the company. So we went from development technology company, but at the end of the day, we really are a marketing company. We need to market our business, which does a couple things. Obviously, it puts more riders in, puts more drivers to work, puts more restaurants online. So all those people have to have touch points from some type of marketing. And that's the next big step with us. And I just actually working with a firm that is really, really good at messaging for what we want to do. And we want to put some humor in our stuff,
Sure.
We don't want to just be, hey, we're the guy that comes out here and gets your food for you. Just put a little humor so they can see a real human touch to it.
So how did you choose Nashville? How did Nashville become the choice? It doesn't sound like maybe the logical choice for somebody to launch. You'd think something a little more glamorous. Or maybe I'm not dissing Nashville by any means. But.
Everybody thought we were going to launch in Las Vegas. And,
and
one thing I do understand because of being in startup mode for 40 years or plus, the hazards of that and the pitfalls and the mistakes you can make. And I tell everybody, look, we got to be cautious right now. We don't need to be pounding our chest. We need to go in, run the business. Let's look at every piece of it. Look under the hood. Look under, the tires filled with air, all that stuff. So the logical choice was to find a small market, which is Nashville.
Okay.
But what you want, though, in a small market, you still want some of the pizzazz that you get out of a big market. That's Nashville. They have music. They're international. It's called the It City.
Mm-hmm.
So it made really a lot of sense when we chose Nashville to go there. It's really controllable. You have Nashville itself, and then you have, some of the other outlying communities within 10 or 15, 20 miles of around there. So it's very easy to manage. So that's why we picked it.
Okay. So
we didn't need to see 1,000 restaurants online to know we're going to have a problem. We want to see, 50 or 100 online to find the problem and then go like hell.
Has that worked? Pretty well as far as, I guess, so far in being able to, fulfill those deliveries? Because I guess there's probably kind of a balance between getting enough restaurants for people to order, but getting enough drivers to take care of the deliveries.
Right. And we have that because we're not overburdened by anything. The next big step is getting the app out there, to download for the consumer. And that's where our marketing will come in at to basically flood the market. And that's another reason why we chose a smaller market, because we can find out in a small market as much as we could find out in a big market, but we also have more controllable on our expense side that we're not blowing our brains out marketing to get an effective download, right? So it just makes it much more easier to control for us.
Okay.
And with the same results, we'll get the same information.
Sure. So I want to get you guys in Denver so I can start delivering here. How do I do that?
I love Denver. My son actually graduated from University of Colorado there in Boulder.
Okay, sure.
And, so Denver's, part and parcel of our, existence in my business career. I've spent a lot of time in Denver, going back, believe it or not, to the 70s. So
okay,
I've been around.
I think it sounds like you kind of give some of us maybe a little bit of power to influence. I was able to. You mentioned you got your video call coming up, or your training thing tomorrow night, which would be Thursday night. And I'll put a link in the show notes, everybody, so that you can kind of, if you listen to this before the call, I absolutely encourage you to be a part of it. If not, it'll point you to the channel for TripDelivers, and you can kind of get the replay of it and replay of some of the coffees that Bob has with drivers on Saturday morning. And I listened this last Saturday morning. You're kind of talking in that that call or something like that, a couple people saying, hey, we want you to get started here. And it's, part of that was, well, if we start getting some restaurants signed up, then that kind of moves somebody up on the list there. And
right. So the thing is, if in a market, all it takes is 6 or 7 leaders, and then motivate, another 10 or 12 people, you could sign up 500 to 1,000 restaurants in 4 to 6 weeks. And then you're open for business. At the same time, when we see that momentum going, once we understand the marketing side, what the message is going to be and how to do it, then we'll just plow the ad dollars into the marketplace and then start really. So our job really is to get the app out there for the end user customer. Right. What we wanted to, and by making it the way we've done it with the referral partners and the drivers and everything, it even reinforces that they're working for themselves even more, because they're going to get paid. But if they took the initiative, then they could have multiple revenue streams, one from the recruiting side, one from the restaurant side, one from the driver side,
Yeah.
And that's the way we kind of looked at the business.
Yeah. No,
and I'm sure, some anomalies, in the mix, but so far the last couple of last week and this week so far, everything's been running fairly smooth. We haven't had a lot of big things. The biggest thing for us was, could we get 100 plus menus loaded? And I think we're right at 100 right now.
Okay.
For Nashville market.
Yeah, because every time you get a restaurant on, somehow you've got to get that information up onto the site.
Yeah. And the problem with the restaurant menu is the menu itself is a PDF file. So you can't manipulate it. So it's harder to get in, uploaded. And then we have to come behind it with the CSV file, so we can adjust pricing. If what we want to do ultimately is train the restaurateur to manage their own pricing, do all of the stuff that they need to do. The problem is, they're just so darn busy.
Yeah. Are there any other cities that are close to coming online at this point?
We're taking a hard look at Atlanta, Houston, maybe Denver now.
Well, I know a few places, so.
Yeah, we got a little traction in Atlanta and a little bit in Houston. The good news about Houston is that that Shanna, who's with us, I don't know if you heard of her, but she runs the restaurant side. She knows that market really well. She actually opened that market for DoorDash.
Okay.
And so she's going to get with the field and start giving them leads and all that kind of stuff and tell them who to go to. And then she does the training class also. So she's terrific at training.
No, and that's the part that's just interesting right now. It's kind of fun just seeing the start of something like this, and you kind of wish that it gets started a little faster or something. So those of us that are not in markets that are started yet could take advantage of it. But you put a group of gals together to go open that market, and you had, like I said, a half a dozen. You could open that market in a minute, and we'll just come right behind it, and supporting it. But the market, we have in our database right now, we have about 160 main markets. So Denver would be a main market, but then we have the sub-markets within there, like Aurora and all those little, like Wood and all that. So we have those in. So in our database right now, we have over 3,000 cities. Okay.
Out of the 160 markets, and there's 3,000 sub-markets attached to those 160 cities.
Now, for getting started with something like that, especially when you're getting off the ground in a city, is that better that you kind of get the restaurants that are clustered together? Or
yeah, if you can get clusters, it makes it easier for the driver, obviously, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
I could work a market, he might just only want to work 6 or 7 miles from his house. So if there's a cluster in there, she'll figure out how to work those markets,
Well, Bob, I want to thank you. Anything else that you want to bring up, or anything else you can think of, or something like that? Kind of tell a little bit about what you're doing, or any kind of message you want to leave with drivers, or anything like that.
Well, I would say this: that one is I appreciate you inviting me to talk about the trip. I think that the drivers, a lot of them aren't salespeople, so they're a little intimidated by asking a restaurant to sign up. So they have to get over that personal fear of, rejection, which we all have, right? But I would like to, maybe in a month, as we start ramping up, getting closer to Christmas, maybe, just hit me up, or I'll hit you up and I'll give you an update.
Yeah. I love that.
The other markets we're looking at, or here's ones we're getting ready to open, or whatever. And then, just use as a platform to communicate with people and let them see what's going on out there. Because I think once a driver gets involved with us, he's going to like it, or she's going to like it.
Yeah.
They can put more money in their pocket. It's just that simple. Same thing with a restaurant. Like I was with these guys on a call today I was telling you about. They're just blown away.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know. I just, when I look at, some of the driver forums, the Facebook groups and different things like that, and you always get somebody that'll come in and they'll talk about DoorDash, or they'll talk about Grubhub as we. And of course, most of the other drivers will then kind of shoot them down. They're saying, you're just acting like an employee or something like that. They say, well, we want to go out and maybe try and spread the word, get more people, get some restaurants involved, or get customers involved, because that'll help us stay in business. And
right.
And there's some truth to that, but at the same time, you don't get rewarded for that with most situations like this. But with what you're doing, you can really feel like you're really a part of this thing.
Well, yeah, because, it's, kind of all these companies, every company has different leadership styles and what matters to their own internal employees, external, whatever it might be. And I've always been, I came from blue collar family, so we all worked. And so, the value of working hard, and the value of your time. And,
Absolutely.
People don't realize, if you're off working and you're driving, you're not with your family, so you've got to support them, and you're working your tail off. All those things do matter. So from my perspective, we always try to look at the employee first in the company. That's why everybody in our company has stock options, or is a stock owner, every employee.
Okay.
So because at the end of the day, if we do the right thing and the company becomes valuable, then the people that work the hardest are going to get rewarded.
Yeah.
And that's no more complicated than that,
No, that makes sense. Well, Bob, I want to thank you again for coming on, and I'll put links up in our show notes and everything like that, so that you can kind of see where to go for TripDelivers. And folks, go check out their YouTube channel if you want to really get into the nitty gritty. They've got all their trainings up on right there on the website that you can just get into. You can kind of see how they do stuff, and go in on Thursday night to listen to some of the stuff coming up here, or to the Saturday morning coffee with Bob. And thanks again, Bob.
Okay. Thanks, Ron. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Have a good one.
What do you think, Courier Nation? I don't know about you. I don't know if you're as excited about what this possibility could be as I am, but I am just looking at this model and I'm very intrigued. I got to tell you, I am really intrigued. Now, the fact of the matter is they're barely off the ground, So I have no idea how well this is going to go. Let me put it this way. I'm a Nebraska football fan, and every year we all think, hey, the team looks good on paper. And then every year they get out on the field, and the execution just isn't always what it should be. But the thing about it is, there are those of us who are old enough to remember a long, long, long time where nobody executed as well as they did, as consistently. So I tell you what, when you got the plan there and you got the execution on top of it, it's an amazing thing to see. And I see something here that, man, I tell you what, the way it looks, and the more that I think about it and look at it, it's like this thing could take off. And if the execution is there, and if they do as well at delivering on getting the product out to the customers as they've done in delivering, I think, a very intriguing business plan. This could be really, really interesting, really fun to watch, and really fun to be a part of. So I just encourage you, kind of keep an eye on these guys. Pay attention, and go check out their YouTube channel. Go sit in on, some of the the videos, the live videos that they put out. And if you're interested, if you're wanting to be part of getting this thing off the ground, shoot me a note, because I can get you in touch with everybody here. And it's just going to be fun to see what happens here, And I kind of hope somebody can come along and disrupt the big guys. I mean, if you want to know what kind of geek I am about this kind of thing, you ought to go check out episode 51 or go to entrecourier.com/51, because I spent a whole episode there talking about, here's one way I think somebody could come in and just totally disrupt this industry. And I tell you what, if these guys pull it off well, they could really disrupt this industry. And for a guy like me, it'd be so fun to watch. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in here again this week. And let me ask one favor as you wrap up. Is this website, is this podcast, is any of this helping you take control of your delivery business? I really hope it is. It's what I want to do. I want to help you just think of this like a business, and I want to help you take control of everything that's going on. And so this is the thing. If I am helping you in that way, in any way, shape, or form, could you spread the word? Could you let people know about the Entre Courier website, about the Deliver on Your Business podcast? And if you're listening to this on any of the sites that like Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, anything that allows you to leave a review, please leave a review. Let people know, just because that helps us get found. And the more that people can find us, the more that we can help other people to be the boss. And that's the thing as we wrap up today. I think that's one of the things that is so exciting about this is you've got an opportunity to be in on the ground floor of something I think could be really special. But I think that also is more of a true business to business type model where you're going to actually be working as a business, and it's not a charade like some of these others. And I love that idea. And so that's the thing I encourage you to do today as we wrap up today is take control. Look at what you're doing as a business. Look for where you can control the thing you can control. Take control of your delivery business. Go out there and be the boss.